Child, every day you wake up and you brush your teeth, you gotta do it every day. You don't get to skip a day of doing the work. I went through a lot of loss. Everything hurts. My brain hurts, my heart hurts, my body hurts.
Christina is a photographer and musician based in New York City. She was born in Savannah, Georgia, but grew up in both cities.
Hence my name, Dirty South Yankee, because I'm both.
She's an artist and a dot connector with a million stories to tell.
Have you ever experienced sexism in the workplace?
Yes.
But before she found her community and herself, she had to find purpose.
Girl, you the common denominator. So everybody's like, just do one thing and settle down. And do that. That's just not really how I'm built.
In this Narrative for Narratives, she talks about the power of human connection and embracing change.
Just remembering to breathe. If you're not breathing, you're definitely dead. A lot of what we grew up on is very unrealistic.
And the importance of following one's own path rather than conforming.
When you know it's time to move, go.
Well, thank you so much for rushing over here and making the time to do this.
Yeah, of course.
Good to meet you.
Got you to smile.
I don't know much about you, so I figured we would start with where are you from and what got you to New York? What brought you to New York?
Well, I'm originally from Savannah, Georgia. Born and raised. Came here after high school. So I moved a while ago. I moved in 2003. I was here 10 years, went home to handle some family things, was in Georgia, kind of back and forth because I was doing tour things. And then I came back, so I'm recently back as of August 2023, back in New York.
What was life like in Savannah, Georgia growing up?
For me, it was a little slow. I always wanted to be in the mix of things. I would come because I have family here. My father lived here, so I was back and forth. Hence my name, Dirty South Yankee, because I'm both. But I
Dirty
used
what?
to Dirty South Yankee, because I'm both.
Okay.
I'm Dirty South Yankee, Dirty South Yankee. But yeah, I would come, and for me, I was enthralled. You know, I was like, I want to live in New York because it just felt too small town for me. I had big dreams and aspirations, and yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like, it's cool. I like that I have both. I like that I have, like, the experience of growing up in the South as a nice Southern lady that's got some manners that'll talk to you like this. But also, like, my adult life was forged here because I came immediately, literally after I graduated, I moved up here. So, like, I feel like I have the best of both worlds. And Savannah now, too. Savannah is actually a really cool city. Like, it's not big time. We're getting more cool things because of the movie industry. A lot of stuff that gets outsourced from Atlanta, from the big studios, come to Savannah. It's really artsy. There's all kind of cool, like, these earrings are from a local designer in Savannah. Her name is Emmy, and her brand is Tribe and Temple, and she makes all of this, like, fun stuff out of acrylic. All kind of little makers marks. Like, that's what I like doing when I go home. I like seeing, like, the local artists and meeting people and, like, getting into, like, the community aspect of what's going on now, because there's all kind of fun stuff that I wish was happening more frequently when I grew up.
Yeah, your frames are cool too.
Thanks.
What were those big dreams?
I wanted to sing. I wanted to be in the music industry. I was a boy band fanatic at the time. I was jealous of Britney Spears because I was like, she's not that pretty anyway, which she really is. But yeah, I wanted to sing. I wanted to be in the music industry, and I wanted to be a star.
Yeah. Did you go down that path? Did you do, like, theater in school at all, or was that an option?
I did some. I did, like, musicals and stuff in school. I was in chorus and stuff like that. It kind of took a back seat for a while because when I did move, coming from, like, the fandom of, like, being a super fan of all my favorite artists and trying to, like, Savannah's a small town. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to figure out how can I get in, because back then, you know, the internet was not what it is today, so it's like we had to be a little more creative. I remember going and literally, I don't remember how I got this list. I got a list of every record label that existed in New York City, whether it was a big one, a small one, an independent. I had a list of all the labels. I don't even remember how I was doing this on, like, AOL dial-up, but, like, I was finding out where people were gonna be and, like, how to meet people. And so, long story short, my in I discovered zines, like fanzines, things like that. So I was like, okay, if I can get in and like be useful, I could interview my favorite artists and like shoot them and then like still be able to like do what I want to do and get like a little bit closer. And so that was kind of what turned into my career path. So it went from that and kind of like finagling and trying to sound grown as like a 16-year-old in somebody's email box. It's like, how did you get this email? Like InSync's publicist or whatever. Like, I don't remember how I got these things. But like trying to like, hey, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so, and making these little laminated things at Kinko's and like press, whatever. Like, it was all creative stuff at the end of the day. And it worked for a couple to like, I actually got in and was like able, not the big artists, but like up and comers. Yeah. And then I was shooting, and that was what became my career path as a photographer. So I would shoot film, and then as digital came in and I upped my gear and whatnot, when I moved here, creatively, I was customizing sneakers. I was doing sneakers, trucker hats. I was outfitting a lot of local artists, essentially.
Graphic design or?
I mean, like, but not all, like, not digital. It was all hand-drawn stuff, like custom vests, painting shoes, painting hats, things like that. And once again, I needed photos of people and my stuff, so I would go to shows, shoot it. And then that became, like, it snowballed. Everybody's like, wow, these pictures are really great. Like, we want you to come shoot this, or let's do a photo shoot. And 15 years later, I'm most well known as a photographer in the music industry, like hip-hop, R&B scene. That's how I got here.
Who are some of the coolest people you photographed?
Miguel, early on. I did a lot of work with Miguel. He was always really cool. Awesome dude. Ro James is also a friend of mine. Like, they had like a whole little clique and collective. A lot of the cool kids in the R&B scene, like Luke James, Ro James, Miguel, BJ the Chicago Kid, Diana Gordon, who's now songwriting for people like Beyonce, Bridget Kelly, Melanie Fiona. It was like New York, like there was like a really cool bubble in New York at that time of people that like have gone on to be really successful, but like we're still at the beginnings of everything back then. And that was kind of where I sandwiched myself. That was comfortable, but I shot Jay-Z's mom's 50th birthday party.
That's pretty cool.
I shot Nicki Minaj early on. I did a couple years back. One of my faves is Craig David, so I got to shoot him for Vibe a few years ago when he was doing a DJ set.
How'd you get that gig? How did you get that gig?
A friend of mine, I forget what her official title is there, but I've known her throughout the course of moving around up here, and she pulled me in for that gig. She was like, hey, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah.
And is it tough? Do you feel like you're like a struggling artist in the city? Do you feel like you created your path and like it's sustainable?
Well, that's the thing, right? So like we were chatting off camera before, as a recent new New Yorker again. Yeah. Things kind of changed during the pandemic. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I was miserable. Did not like it. Do not recommend.
Wow.
But that's for me. Everybody has.
What was wrong with Atlanta? As a Georgian.
I thought it would be like the happy medium, maybe between Savannah and New York. So my mom's like, "Oh, you're closer, and Atlanta's closer. Just go to Atlanta." For me, it gave me a little more of an LA vibe than I cared for. I've been to LA a few times. It's just not really my swag. And then also, even pre-pandemic, because I did in fact record an EP while I was in Atlanta, so I got to live out a part of the dream. Yeah. But I was going to do that prior to living there, so it's back and forth, and that was cool. Like the in and out for me, like going to do a thing and then going back. That worked out. But living there, I don't know, it felt really hard, even pre-pandemic, to like build community. I also took it upon myself after my knee surgery because I couldn't move around as much as I wanted to. I was trying to focus on other things. So I said, I'm gonna do music, because I had some clients that were encouraging me. They were like, we know you sing. I was like, you do? And they're like, you harmonize in everybody's sessions, and if you were bad, we'd tell you to shut up. So like I had some people that I hold them in high esteem, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too, and they were like, just do it. If you take it serious, people will take you serious. You act like you're playing around, so nobody really. So I was like, okay. So I started going to do that maybe a year and a half prior to moving there. But like being on the ground, I pulled away from promoting myself as Dirty South Yankee, the photographer, because also I was running into a lot of, oh, that's cute. Yeah, come take these pictures. Hey, can I sit in on a session? Can I maybe songwrite with you guys, or can I do some background vocals? And like a lot of other people were like, oh, that's cute. Just come take the pictures. Like, stay here.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe in a new market, I'll move a little differently. And then when the pandemic happened, also like everything went to shit. But I guess it just was hard for, like, I'm a people-y person. Like, I feel like I'm outgoing and I make friends relatively easily, and it felt very insular. And then like everybody's in their bubble. Nobody wants to leave their area to come to do something else. I was like, well, I'm parked right now, but I'll drive over there. Like, if I care about it, I'm gonna pull up. And I was running into like what felt like a lot of not reciprocal situation where I'm like, hey, I'm willing to come do this thing, and I'm being met with like, And so then I was like, okay, well maybe I'll try something different, or like, yeah. And again, everybody has their own experience, so this is just mine. But I just felt like unless I name dropped myself as me, and who I worked with and what I've done, and then it's like, oh yeah, we should, come and let's, and I'm like, no, I don't want it to be that. I want on my own merits, because I'm dope enough by myself without my resume and my accolades to be in a room and to be worthy of just interacting and being friends, or trying to build a relationship with somebody that's not based on who can I get next to because you have done what you've done. So I don't know. I was just.
And you feel like the New York scene isn't that way?
There's moments, but I guess too, New York for me, I came up here. So like I already have a different type of relationship with people that I built with prior to getting those things. So I know a lot of those people who have also grown along with me that are now, we've all come up together. Yeah. So it's not just I'm being received as this person who's celebrity adjacent, or like had a bit of virality myself at one point. It's like, you get that, but then like you get the people that are like, they knew you prior to all that, and like you already have an existing relationship with them. And then also, I'm moving in different directions in terms of what I'm pursuing as a career or a profession at the moment. I still photograph if people reach out to me and it makes sense, like absolutely, but I'm just not promoting myself in that way, because I was starting to do other things, touring in the experiential industry, which is a very fancy word for just marketing and promotions, and doing a lot more work in that sector versus entertainment and music, which like a lot of them overlap with skill sets and things like that, but it's like, I'm just not really even. It's really funny, actually. Craig David had a show, and like I'm used to being in the pit or having a media pass or having an all access or having whatever, and I was like, I don't want to be in this crowd. I feel like I was like, I'm so spoiled. Like I bought a ticket and everything, and I'm like a regular person, and I was like, I hate this.
You hated it?
I hate this now. As a fan, I used to not care, but like I spent so much time now like immersing myself in the behind the scenes of everything and getting used to that. I was like it was cool. I still enjoy myself and have fun, but like I guess also the social anxieties now of crowds. It's different. It's different for me. I never used to have that, and now I'm like, it's too many people. It's too many people. Stop touching me. Stop touching me. Like, what are you doing? Stop. Like. Yeah.
You seem like a pretty upbeat, positive person.
Yeah.
What do you do to like maintain your mental health, the way you are, like, and So that's the first question I'll ask, but I'll eventually follow that up with like, what keeps you optimistic about humanity?
Child, it's an everyday, like you wake up and you brush your teeth, you gotta do it every day. You don't get to skip a day of doing the work, right? And so if you do skip a day, you start to get plaque on your teeth. And once you get enough plaque on your teeth, then you're gonna start receiving. So like, it's the same thing, right? You have to do the things, and whatever the things look like for you versus me versus somebody else may be completely different, and I'm about to spout all of this stuff that you probably see in memes, but it's like, there was something I read one time where it's like, it was something on Instagram, if a seed doesn't germinate, right? Do you yell at the seed and say, you didn't work hard enough to sprout, you dumb plant? Like, no, you're like, okay, well, why didn't it sprout? Was the soil wrong? Did it not have enough sunlight? You start to question the environment. You don't question the seed, you question the environment that it grew in. And I was like, wow, because I started thinking about, I'm really hard on myself about a lot of different stuff all the time too. And it's like, oh, you didn't do this, or how come you didn't, and you had an opportunity, and or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Once again, Atlanta, which I'm sure is great for some people, for me, that environment, I didn't germinate there. You know what I mean? Like, I was very sad, honestly. I went through a lot of loss. I lost my grandmother, I lost my father, I lost a very close friend of mine, all within that time. And I was struggling once again with community, feeling lonely, feeling sad. And I have some wonderful people that I've befriended in Atlanta that are absolutely fantastic, and this is no shade to them. Yeah. It's just and once again, like, you can have people that love you and care about you, but when you feel so isolated, and I was going through a lot of terrible roommates, there was just a lot going on, and I didn't always feel safe in the places I lived, and like, I wasn't comfortable at home, and I mean, I was working out, I was doing the things, I looked great, but I felt so sad all the time. And it was days where, in all honesty, I was having ideations. I wasn't planning anything or going but I was just questioning, like, why do I care about doing this every day? Why do I care about getting up and like living? Why does anybody care about art? What does this mean? And then once again, the pandemic, right? Everything just felt useless. We're not supposed to touch each other. We can't see each other. People are dying. We can't even be there. And like, all of these things. I had people having babies, and like, I can't go, and they're afraid of me because I was unvaxxed. And this whole thing of like, you just feel more and more isolated, and like, what's the point? Other people are dying. It's like, why does any of this matter? I was having some health complications myself. Everything hurts. My brain hurts, my heart hurts, my body hurts. Why do I want to do this every day? And what I realized in moving back, I didn't plan to move back. After my friend died, he was a huge figure in the community here. He was the leader of a band. I was their personal photographer for a long time. Giant figure. I mean, like, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. His name was Nedick from Game Rebellion. And when he died, there was so many of us from different facets of his life that had never intersected. And then we did a block party for him, and we all met, or some of us virtually met via Instagram. My current roommate was someone that I didn't know, but she knew him from this new chapter of his life. And then we started talking, ended up going to dinner with her, told her about like my craziness, and she was like, why don't you just come, stay here next time you're in town? And then a couple weeks later, she's like, you should be my roommate. And I was like, I don't know you like that yet. And she's like, you can stay as long as you want, but I would like it if you moved in. So I stayed for a couple months to feel it out, and then I was like, I should probably pay rent now. So I started paying rent, and we're roommates now. And
Right now.
I've realized in moving back to an environment where I'm with people who are kind, people who are thoughtful, people who genuinely care about me, that makes so much difference. You know what I mean? Like, just creating a space to be able to flourish. And as soon as I got here, bong, bong, but people are dirty your back. Yeah, I've got a photography job. I've got things just started coming into my lap.
Wow.
And I was like, and the funny part is a lot of them are tied into this friend I was netting. Like, it's just, I'm like, okay, I see you. But yeah, a lot of different things. I start seeing people see me on the street or, hey, what's up? Let's reconnect. And I mean,
When did it turn though? So like, when did it go from, because on paper you were like, I looked good, I was working out, so it's like you had all the habits were there.
Because that's what I
the
mean.
environment
You're
somehow was
doing
so
the
wrong.
things, right? You keep doing, like you're brushing your teeth, but like maybe there's something else wrong. Maybe you're not like, okay, my teeth are white, but like I still have like
Didn't floss.
a gum, or like there's something that's missing. That like you got a cavity, you need a root canal. Next thing you know, your tooth fell out. That also happened to me in Atlanta, but whatever. But yeah, you know, like there's things where you're like, I'm doing this stuff and like, why is it not working? There might be other underlying issues that are not being addressed where it's like, I'm trying so hard to like do the stuff and make this work. But if where I'm living, I can't even come home and feel safe.
Yeah.
Like,
What was the last straw, like the moment of realization?
My last roommate in Atlanta physically threatened me on my birthday and subsequently New Year's Eve. And I was like, I'm not gonna have like, this is gonna go somewhere else. I had friends that were like, I'll pull up. And I was like, no, because that's a whole other, A, that's not your fight. B, I'm not even gonna argue nobody. Like the legality of it, I was like, why would I wanna fight you to stay here for 60, I'll be out. I was like, I put my stuff in storage and then I ended up getting a tour with LL Bean because that's how life worked out for me. And that was wonderful too. But like, that's what I mean. Like, it's a thing of like, stop fighting against you know what I mean? It's like, when you know it's time to move, go. And for me, usually the universe will kick me in the ass if I don't. Like, if it's time to go, hey, we've been giving you some signs and you acting like you don't know, guess what? So, yeah, I was on edge. I was like, literally, I couldn't come home without like feeling like I don't know what's gonna happen. So I was like, I'm gonna just go.
Yeah. And okay, so when times are tough and it feels like the universe is not showing its cards the right way, like what do you lean on? Do you have like a spirituality or a religion or like some sort of practice or
I wouldn't call it, I consider myself spiritual. I'm technically Greek Orthodox. That's how I was baptized. I went to Catholic middle school. I have lots of, churchy friends and things like that. I don't necessarily subscribe to all of the things that come along with those particular institutions, but what I've also realized in the course of time of like trying to take care of my body and my mental health and like how all of these things intersect. One of my favorite discoveries in singing and having vocal coaches is how much breath work, literally just breathing, changes everything. Like literally just the act of how you breathe and like it's an exercise within itself. And so I find myself coming back often to stuff I learned with Eric Arsenault, who's my vocal coach, my first vocal coach, and Trina Bourdaire, who he also brings in to assist him. Just literally breathing. Like you don't realize when you're holding your breath or when you're tense and like all of these different things that like contribute to, once again, over time, if you're not doing them daily, you lose your vocal ability or you lose your muscle ability. It's a thing that you have to constantly practice that if you do fall off track, guess what? You got muscle memory. It's the same thing. Your voice is a muscle. So just the same way I might be a little off right now if I tried to sing you something, if I go and I train for another 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be back in it. If I go get in the gym, I might have a little cellulite right now, but like if I go and I get back in the gym, my body remembers from what I used to do and it'll pick up very quickly. So it's like, for me, just remembering to breathe. Like literally, like if you're not breathing, you're definitely dead. So like, just breathe, like be conscious of it, take it slow, like just focus on breath first and foremost. And that was also how I used to have panic attacks at one point. Breath work, coming back to breath work is how I would come out of a panic attack. Like just breathing, because otherwise I would get to where, like, if you've ever had a really bad one, like you're struggling, like you're crying, you cannot quit. And it's like, you just feel like you're choking. And so in that moment, just coming back to, what am I upset about? Is it something that's already happened or something that's about to happen? Because in this moment, right now, I'm in a studio. It's climate control. It's very nice in here. It's like, but if I'm reliving some weird thing that happened to me, or I'm afraid of something that's gonna happen, it doesn't matter if you're the nicest people in the world. Like, if I'm not even in this moment. So I have to bring myself back to, like, am I safe right now? What's happening right now? Like, questions that go through my brain of, like, in this moment, am I safe? Yeah. If I'm not, that's the first thing that needs to change. But if I am, then what is upsetting me? Okay, has it happened? Can I do anything about it? No. Okay. Has it happened in the fore or in the back? You know what I mean? Like, if it already passed, what can you do? If it hasn't happened yet, who knows if it's even gonna happen? Right. So what are you upset about?
How did you learn all these? Like the questioning process, like therapy or something, or?
Years and years of being curious.
Curious.
I tried to get a therapist twice, and neither one of those worked out, and I'm probably just being stubborn about, like, But I do a lot of, I'm a self-starter, so I just, things I'm curious about, I research ad nauseum, like whether it's boy bands or whether it's therapy or whatever. Yeah. Actually, my favorite account on Instagram is the holistic therapist, Nicole LaPerla. Love her content. In all honesty, that's probably been the most helpful thing for me in the last few years. And then some people that I've also met that I have in my life that I feel safe with, that I can articulate myself, and like a lot of whatever trauma that I've dealt with in the past, it is a safe space to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do something a little differently this time. Or if I am reacting in a certain way, like, hey, can you please be patient with me? I recognize what I'm doing. Can we talk through it? Like, I'm not trying to be nasty to you, or I'm not sure, like, I know why I'm doing the thing. I'm just trying to not do the thing anymore. And it's hard when you're trying to get out of it. You know what I mean? So like having people in your life that you can create new neural pathways with to do something differently, because your brain is always searching for confirmation. These people are gonna hurt me. They're gonna edit this and I'm gonna look crazy. You know what I mean? Like whatever you've been through, I don't think y'all are gonna make me look crazy, but like maybe I have been through that before and I'm like, I don't know. My whole body language is a little different because I'm scared. But once you are able to do the thing with a different result and then do it consistently with a different result. If I've been in terrible relationships with men and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna cheat or you're gonna hurt me and I knew you were gonna do this, any little thing becomes the confirmation bias. So you have to have new pathways to create those new experiences that then become the norm, to say like, no, this is safe, this is okay, we can work through this. This person is, it's not us against each other, it's us against the problem, right? And so like just having people in my life that I'm able to work through my own shit with, and that are patient with me to be able to do that even in moments that I might be fucking up, or I might be like, to just bring me back to center and be like, hey, know you're projecting, right? I'm here. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. It's me.
You threw out the word new neural pathways, which for me evokes the question of whether, if you're comfortable, of course, speaking about it, if you wouldn't talk about any psychedelic usage or any...
I don't. The only time I've ever been on drugs was involuntarily. I've had 2 terrible experiences.
That's not good. No,
it's not. And that's the other thing. Like for me, I've also realized everybody's always like, you are high on life. Yeah. Anybody that knows me is like, you are the energy, you are the party starter, you are the socializer, like, and that's the thing. Like I'm already tapped into what most people need those things to tap into.
Yeah.
And so in times where, whether it was involuntarily or sometimes I tried weed is not my thing. Don't like it, hate it, don't like THC. I've tried the gummy, don't like it, hate it. I just, anything beyond that, I've just never felt a need. I've been encouraged to do ayahuasca, I've been encouraged to do mushrooms. I'm just like, I don't think the way my brain is set up, that is, I don't feel comfortable, and B, I don't think it would be helpful. I might change my mind later on down the line, that might change, but for now, I'm just like, no.
You seem very naturally magical, and your brain seems very plastic, so in a good way. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
You had left us off by talking about how you have a community now that's able to support you really well. I suppose, like, how did you create this community?
So my first tenure in New York, I was just in these streets, so to speak. Literally, I mean, like, I would go to anything and I was just research, like, what's going on? Where is this at? Where is that at? How can I get in here? How can I meet this person? How can I work my way into what I want to be a part of? And how can I provide value in those situations so I'm not just like looking like a groupie or some shit? And I do have lots of different skill sets, most of which are creative. And I'm like, okay, imposter syndrome, it's like, I don't deserve to be here because technically I snuck it, but like, I have all of the things that everybody else has here at their disposal. Like, I just didn't do it the official way, right? And so as time went on, and like, you learn, somebody's like, hey, who did you know here? I just walked in. You know what I mean? Like, it became, it's actually funny, a lot of people that I'm, again, still friends with today, they're like, you just like finagled your way into all this shit, and like, everybody loves you. Like, kind of, yeah, like, cause I mean, I didn't know anybody, I didn't have any ins and things like that, so I just kind of had to use my personality and be really good at stuff, because somebody will figure out really quick if you're not really good at what the fuck you said you're really good at. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you here? But yeah, I just, I have skill sets, and I use my personality really first and foremost to try to connect with people in an actual genuine way, not like, hey, I need you to step up the ladder to get to the next thing. Like, I really care about creating actual lasting relationships, which in the entertainment industry, the wrong way to usually go about stuff, like, because everybody's not your friend, everybody's not gonna love you, everybody's not gonna keep you around after the thing ends. Yeah. And you learn a lot of that the hard way, but at the same time, like, the people that are meant to stay, that are gonna actually give a shit about you beyond, maybe I lose my eyesight tomorrow, then what good am I as a photographer, right? I'm useless to a lot of people in that sense, but the people that know me and love me, they don't give a fuck if I can't see tomorrow. I'm still funny as shit. I'm still gonna be able to show up and like be me, even if I don't have my eyesight. You know what I mean? So there's like inherent parts of what make me me, that there's still an incredible amount of worth there beyond what I'm able to provide to someone as a service.
My train of thought came back to me. I want to know about your role models, whether they are people in your life or they're people that aren't necessarily in your life. You might not even know them, but you follow them online, and they could be now, they could be when you were younger. But like, who are the people that you were like, I'm going to be like that person? Or maybe you didn't even think they were a role model at the time, but you were like, yes, this is the type of person I want to be, type of parent I want to be, type of funny, type of...
I mean, I never really like considered, there's one person that I'm gonna name, but I'm really trying to think, I'm like, was there anybody else that I considered a role model per se? Like, there's plenty of people like creatively that inspire me, but like as somebody I wanted to model myself after, the only person that comes to mind is Pink. Okay. Like, I always thought, I was just like, man, she's so badass. And like, you know, she had short hair way back when, and like she was different, and she just wasn't like typical pretty, and, you know, spoke her mind, and like her music, she's touched pretty much every genre at this point and killed it. Her just as a human, and now she's a mom, you know what I mean? And the type of mom that she is, and the way that, you know, even her own relationship, the way she talks about it in her music, and the way that her and Carrie, I was just like, man, I don't necessarily aspire to be like, oh, this is my role model, but like, I would say if there's one person that had a significant amount of influence on who I've become as a human, it would probably be Pete.
Okay. Any anti-heroes, people who you were like, this is the reason I am not going to be this type of person? Or a moment that maybe you were the person you didn't want to be, and you were like, you caught yourself and were like, nope, out with it, not it.
I'm not going to name them, but there's again one person that comes to mind that I don't, it's like Voldemort. We don't talk about them, but seeing what our relationship was and who this person was to me a long time ago, and how it's ended up where we have, I'm going to probably mess up the word vitriol, like the intense amount of hatred that drove this person to where they're at now, and like what they've done, my life and other people that are around me. I'm like, that is something I fight against. Like, if something's going to lead me down that path, like what am I upset about now? Why am I upset about this? Is there something I need to check myself about that, like, why am I so, I always try to ask myself what's underneath it first and foremost. And then it's like, okay, is this a justified, like, am I really justified in how I'm feeling right now, or am I just feeling something? Because I just feel like this person went their whole life feeling a certain type of way, and just let that grow to where it's at now. And I'm like, you have spontaneously combusted to the point where you're not even recognizable.
Yeah.
And you're so far gone, you can't even catch yourself. Like, it's sad, but it's also, it's a thing where it's like, I can't afford.
Once your friend, or?
As a family member. Yeah. And I was just like, this is like, it's just, it really is sad at the end of the day. And it's things that make me angry, but I'm like, as angry as I am and as justified as that is, I'm just like, I know that most of whatever we're going through isn't really even about me. It's about other stuff that you've now let seep into what everything has become. And I'm like, this is like, man, you are so deep into, I don't ever want to let myself get there. Because like, not only have you ruined tons of relationships, and you're conniving and you're manipulative, and it's like, I've recognized those traits within myself on different occasions because I've learned it over time, right? And so in certain situations, I can use it to my advantage, but especially in personal dealings, I really try really hard to make sure that that's not something that is seeping into my personal relationships. And even a good friend of mine, we've been friends 20 years now. We've had conversations about it, and I'll tell, other people sometimes. We've been on our off periods, and I lived with him for a little while, and I left, and I told him, I said, I think you feel like I used you. I think you feel like I came here, and I told you at that time I didn't have any money, and I was like, hey, how else can I contribute? We came to conclusions. He needed more, but he wasn't voicing that. So I'm like, I'm keeping up my end of the bargain, but now you're asking way more of me than I can still provide. As your friend, I have to go. Because if I was not really your friend and I wanted to use you, I know you're never going to kick me out. I know you wouldn't do that. And I'm just not going to do what you asked me to do. I don't want to do that. So I said, listen, it's time to go. I left. We had a period where like we were off, and then when we came back and talked about it, and I explained to him from my perspective, I said, this is why I chose to do this way. And, he's grown a lot over time too. And it's just one of those situations where I'm like, listen, think about it, right? If I had stayed, I couldn't do a lot of what you were asking me for. Yeah. Like, not even asking, but like imply, like, 'cause there was other people involved in the situation. But I'm like, you are now trying to take things you're asking other people to do that they're not doing and then put them onto me. And I'm like, I can't do it. And if I could, I would. I just can't. I don't have the resources in that capacity. So because I know that, I gotta go, because I'd be using you otherwise, and that's not fair. And I do value you. And like, if we gotta have a moment where like you don't fuck with me right now because you feel upset, then that's cool. But like when we reconvene, like, and we could talk about it. Hey, like this is why, because I do value our friendship, and I didn't want to do that.
Going back to that family member that you had mentioned, like at some point, I imagine you may have experienced this more than once in your life, where like a person kind of goes to off a certain ledge, or like you feel like it's almost self-sabotage. Oh, yeah. And then the self-sabotage creates a circumstance where then that person mentally is unwell, and
very, yeah.
They can't take care of themselves, and then they're a nuisance to others. What do you do when you have like love for someone like that? Because you seem like the type of person that probably has a lot of love for the people in their life. So it's hard, right? Because like on the one side you want to help someone, on the other you realize you can't fix everyone. And
for me, and this is gonna sound extreme, but this is how I view it. It literally became good versus evil. Mm. A lot of the things this person is and has done are evil. Yeah. Like, it's the weight of like, okay, some people are unaware of their shit, and it's like they're kind of doing things unconsciously, and it's like they're not trying to hurt you, but like they're hurting you. This is like, no, I want these things to happen, and I want them to happen in this way, and I want it to hurt like this. It's literally become in my brain good versus evil of like, you reached the threshold and went way past that. So like, unfortunately, I mean, like this was one of my favorite people at one point, but it's just like, I can't even, for my own safety and sanity, you just don't exist anymore.
I feel like everyone has someone in their life they could kind of think of that's like kind of this person. And there was this quote I had heard the other day it kind of brought me to thinking of that person in my life, which was that something around how all of like the kindest people in the world recognize that they are not just kind or nice. They see that evil is within them, and they choose not to act on it every day. And they recognize it and see it's part of the human condition. It's a part of who they are and their thoughts and whatever. But they don't voice their thoughts. They don't act on their thoughts, and so on. And so there's a part of me that thinks that, it's like, how do you convince someone to like believe in the good again, get them back to not be evil? Have you seen that ever? Like, because you mentioned now with this previous roommate, like where maybe it wasn't a battle of good versus evil, but where maybe it's time, maybe it's their own independent experiences when you like take time apart from each other or something, where they come back around almost, and maybe you're better off for it having gone separate ways for a while.
Well, yeah, and that person that I mentioned, that we've been friends for 20 years, he does a lot of self-work too. You know what I mean? Like, he's constantly questioning and evolving, and like, he's one of my favorite people because, as somebody who thinks they know everything because I'm a Capricorn and I'm usually always right, he will come to me for advice. And a lot of people like they ask you, but then they don't hear you because they want to do what they want to do anyway, and they don't take it in. They don't really receive what they've asked for. I love him because he will still bring things up to me that he's like, this one time you said da 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 to me, and that made me blah 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 da da da, and then he'll trace the path of how he got to the thing he's doing now, and he's like, that really helped me. Like, thank you. And I'm like, you listen to me. And so like that for me, I'm like, you genuinely want to A, better yourself, and B, be a better person, whether it's for your friendships, your kids, your partners. You're trying, right? And that's all we can all ask for. We all don't get it right every day. We all fall short somewhere. We all, somebody don't like us. But at the end of the day, if you're trying and you're doing your best and you are really good into, like, they say, they say about good intentions, but if you really have good intentions and you're willing, maybe those good intentions fell short, and you're willing to say, okay, hey, talk to me about it. He's that type of person. And I love that I feel heard by him, and not only heard, but really received. And that, because I don't just be talking just to talk, I be talking because I think like it's something important, right? Yes. And so he's taken those things, and I just really love, because if I'm telling you and I'm giving you advice, it's because I want to see you do better, and because I think it can help you. And the fact that he's taken that advice and done just that, like, it just literally makes me happy. Yeah. Not just like validation, but like, man, like, you got better, you know what I mean? Like, yes, this not only makes us and our relationship better, but it makes it better for everybody in your life, and like what you want to do, and like that makes me happy, Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the future dream now of Christina being in New York City, recently unemployed? Yeah, what's the new dream? And it doesn't have to be about work.
I'm this.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just always feeling something out, swimming, going and doing. And like, it's never, there might be something where I'm like, oh, dang, like this ended, this sucks. But like, I really don't try to marinate or wallow in that, because there's so much other stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? My human design chart tells me I'm a manifesting generator. So like, I can literally do anything the fuck I want to. Like, if I decide I want to do a thing and I'm going to put my energy into that thing, I'm going to do the thing. So it's really, if I fuck up, it's really on me at the end of the day. If like,
what is this human design chart?
So it's kind of like astrology on crack. Okay. Basically, like, you plug in, and the same way you'd like read a birth chart, like this tells you even more in depth. Like a birth chart, you're like, I don't understand, what does this mean? And but a human design chart has like very specific, like it tells you very specific stuff about how you're literally designed to function. And I was just like, the first time you really read a birth chart broken down, if you're into that, it's like, some of it is like conflicting, but then again, it's because of the astrology of things that like are at odds with each other. So that could going down the rabbit hole. But like human design is like very specific, and like there's really no, it's much more explanatory than a birth chart. Yeah. And it gives a deeper insight into like how you function in your individuality, and like where you will thrive, how you will thrive. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe you're doing something that's against your human design, and that's why I was like, man, this is always a problem. Well, yeah, because this is how you're designed to work. You know what I mean? Like if you're a spiral cutter and you're trying to cut straight lines, you know what I mean? Like that's not gonna work because you're meant to spiral. So like, it's like that. So it felt good to read a lot of stuff that I was like, man, as somebody who does seemingly hop around from thing to thing to thing, because I'm good at a lot of stuff, and people like, pick something, do that thing, and stop doing all this stuff and just focus on this. And I'm like, yeah, but my whole life I've been like, I do everything, and I'm good at everything. And so it's like, I just kind of cycle through, and reading that chart reconfirmed, like, no, this is what you're meant to do. You feel miserable when you're not doing that. Yeah. So I was like, that's also probably why in Atlanta, like, I had fallen back from a lot of stuff. I was just trying to reconfigure and figure out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on this one thing. And I was like, I was miserable. I was very miserable for a lot of reasons. It's not just the city of Atlanta, but like, I was just not living my purpose.
Yeah. do you feel like you can clearly articulate your purpose now?
Not necessarily. I'm still in the throes of like coming back to me, whoever that is, in this moment. Because even going back to the earlier part of the conversation, like waking up every day, like what is the point? Like what is the purpose? Is just taking pictures of people? Well, what does it matter? Yeah. What does it matter if I have a billion pictures of a billion people? Like, so what? Like, so I guess in the sense of me interpreting it as a thing, that I can't pinpoint. I can't be like, my purpose is to do this job and film, and like that's my purpose. I can't articulate it beyond like what I just mentioned about my friend. That feels like, I don't know how to articulate that, but that feels like my purpose. Connecting with people in a way that helps them grow.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Whether that's me as a photographer, like whatever I'm bringing to the table in that moment, and however I'm connecting with someone in that moment, if there's a space for, not just for both of us really, like, but if there is something that I am doing that can help someone else grow,
yeah,
then I'm living my purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, in general, I think for a lot of people, the purpose is human connection. And like the way you talked about pink to me, like that to me makes me think like, yeah, like you're that person probably for a lot of other people, in their lives. And they won't yet be like, well, Christina's my role model, but maybe, 10 years from now, someone asks them and they're like, yeah, that. So what about dating in New York? I've got to ask, like, this is the city of all the people. I don't live here. I could tell you stories for days about the nightmare of dating in LA, but what?
You didn't ask me about Atlanta, so I'm not even going to touch on that.
Well, you could throw a comparative perspective on Atlanta as well if you want.
We're going to leave Atlanta out of the conversation. I don't know. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year. I get told very often I don't look my age. I don't act my age. I get hit on by a lot of gentlemen that are way younger than me. And I'm just like, I could be your mama. And like I do. I have a young spirit. I'm very tapped into culture, whatever.
You don't want to date younger.
But it's weird. Like, it's like, I don't know, like young guy. I'm just like, I'll be looking at them like I'm their mama. I'm like, what are you doing? You're embarrassing me. There's just certain things where it's like where I'm at in life. Like, we could be friends and we could, and by have fun, I really mean just have fun. I'm not trying to sleep with people. Like, I've done it here and there, but it's like, even that, it's like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Like, have a good day. I don't know. It's just a weird space of like me having a certain level of maturity and being where I'm at in life and like having done a lot of what I wanted to do across the board and feeling content with that. And then like, a lot of stuff that I see younger people do, I'm like, I get it, and I know why you're there, because you're however old you are, but like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm just go home and go to bed. And then like, gentlemen that are my age or older, then, everybody's, of course, we all have our baggage, or we have like, whatever, and like a lot of people are looking to settle down, or they want a family, or they've had a family and they've been divorced, and now they've got kids, but everybody, I think just for the type of person that I am, for a long time I thought there was something wrong with me, because everybody's like, just do one thing and settle down and do that. And I'm like, what? And now I'm just like, no, that's just not really how I'm built. And so going from being sad, I'm just like, I'm good. Like, now I got people I live with that I'm cool with. Like, I can come and there's emotional support there, and like I feel again, comfortable in my own home. I'm not looking for like something or someone, you know, I feel comfortable about.
So you don't feel lonely and
Everyone, you know, once in a while, yeah, like sometimes I just be wanting somebody to cuddle. I'm like, can you just come up and cuddle with me? Like, I just want to cuddle. But I don't know, like I'm just not, I don't want to do casual sex at this point in life. I've done that before, and that's fine, like, you know, but I'm just not there. I don't want to be somebody's baby mother. I don't necessarily want to get married and do that thing. I'm not saying I wouldn't ever, but I've not found somebody that really, I felt like, I don't want to be in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship and just like appeasing like mom or dad, we want grandkids. Like, no, like.
the same thing as them saying to work the one job, right? It's
Yeah,
like
no, it's.
they want you to live their version of happy.
If I found a job that really fulfilled me and I was like, hell yeah, and like this allows me to do everything I do in a million places, absolutely. Same thing, that's how I feel about a relationship. I'm like, if there was someone that came along that I really felt like complimented me in that sense, understood me, and like we could truly have a partnership of like we fill in gaps for each other, and like it's a partnership, not just like a need. Then yeah, but I'm like, I don't know, like I'm tired of wasting my time too. Like I was on a dating app. I hate dating apps, first of all. But I found one I liked, and I was on it for a while, and I had mostly good experiences. But what I was finding was most of the people I was meeting, I had a long ass bio too, because I was like, I'm gonna be intentional. Like, that didn't help. But I found more friends than anything, or more people that was like, okay, maybe we did end up sleeping together, but like, you really don't want what I want. And like, okay, well, like, that's cool. Like, but they were still cool people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's just be friends. Like, and if I know that it's not, I'm just at the point now where I'm like, I don't just want to be fucking around to fuck around. So I'm like, if we're gonna be friends, then that's cool, let's be friends. But like, I can make friends everywhere. Like, I don't necessarily be on a dating app to make friends. And that's kind of what I was running into. I was like, I'm being as specific as I can about what I want and what I'm looking for, but I think maybe that's just so hard for people to comprehend, maybe, that like it's still not translating. And like a lot of dating apps are people that are just looking to fuck around.
Yeah.
I got that message a lot before I deleted the app. Like, you're not here to have sex? No, I'm not. I am not.
So you find a lot of that in New York.
I mean,
It's a lot of the scene is casual
everything.
sometimes.
it's. If you had asked me when I lived here 10 years ago, I could talk to you much more thoroughly about dating and things like that. I'm just not even doing it right now. Like, when I first came back, I was on the app. I had met some people, but it just got exhausting, where it's like, I'm not interested in just meeting you for a meal. I can pay for all my own meals. I'm good on that. Like, if there's like legitimate good conversation, or we have some type of shared interest, or like there's something that we could do, we don't even have to go eat. Like, we can literally do anything, but like that's the other thing. Nobody's imaginative, like, let me not say that, I'm generalizing. Most of the time, for what I was receiving, it was just this real unimaginative, like, same thing all the time, and like there's the end goal. The end goal is always, I'm trying to get some pussy. And it's like, I already said it in my bio and in my thing, like, this is not where, now granted, if we're vibing, cool, but like, once again, I've already said, like, that's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm looking to build first and foremost, like, are we compatible? Are we, like, can we have a friendship? And then like, well, cool, from there, are we compatible in the sense of like, are you interested in being in a relationship, or do you want to participate? I don't know. I feel too old and too young at the same time, trying to date people, and it's frustrating. And
How is your mindset now different? Like, having, I don't know, like, what was your mindset in your 20s? What was your mindset like in your, I guess now in your 30s, but now and then also going into your 40s?
And
You have to break it up.
I was never really focused on marriage and white picket fences and never entered my mind. I've never been the person that dreamed of a wedding or a wedding dress or what that looked like. I've literally never thought about it. I'm like, I've just never had that. I've had the Disney fairy tale shit of like, somebody's gonna sweep me off my feet because we all got sold that dream.
I'm still waiting to grow fins.
Listen, I wanted to be Ariel. I was trying to sing my way out of the sea to my, whatever. But it's a lot of what we grew up on is very unrealistic of like the expectations of what a relationship and like Prince Charming and all that looks like. It's just, that's not real life. And then also, as an only child, my parents are like, oh, well, who are you going to date? And when are we going to get grandbabies? And when are you going to get serious? And I'm like, I'm trying to do a thing. Like, I want to go to New York. I want to be in the music industry. That was my blinders. I never really thought about, I like guys and they're cute and I want to make out with them and I might want to do other things with them. But like, I would have liked to be in a relationship, but for all the wrong reasons. I wanted somebody to want to be with me. And like, I found plenty of people who wanted to do with me, but like, not people that wanted to be with me. And that also, like, at that time, sent me down a path of like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, well, you weren't even in that mind space to begin with. Did you really want to be with them? No. So like, why are you upset, right? So it's this, again, self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I'm not good enough, but you're picking people that are not compatible in that sense. Yeah. And then you're reinforcing it of like, why don't they do you really want them, girl? No, you don't. They was just cute and cool for the moment.
How do you check yourself like that?
It's just.
Is it just wisdom? Like with time you've learned that like you can.
Yeah, like once again, doing the work, right? Like coming back to like, why am I so sad? Or what is the common denominator here? Girl, you're the common denominator, so let's talk about it. Like, well, what is the real problem? Like, are you doing something wrong? Like, is there something you need to address? Or is it just like, did you really want to be with them in the first place? No, you didn't. Yeah. So like, you're just upset because like there's this whole other, again, there's this confirmation bias happening. And it's like, stop that shit. Like, if you want to go have fun, then go have fun, but stop trying to make it into anything other than what it is. If you know that's not going to work, then don't do that to yourself. If you know that's a fuck way, then don't do that, And so, like, checking myself in the sense of, like, we going to go do this again? Okay, don't complain about it. But, like, this is an internal conversation of, like, where this leads, right? So that's why right now, somebody sent me something stupid on Instagram the other day about like, don't be promiscuous. And I was like, sir, I'm abstinent. and I was like, but like, that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, I want something that is, what is the word I'm looking for? It is escaping me. Intentional. I'm looking for intentionality. Yeah. That I put that in my bio too. People are like, what does it mean? Left, like, unmatch. But I'm like, I want something that is intentional. Yeah. If you are not intentional about what's going on, I don't got time for it. That's just what it is. The same way if somebody wants to book me about something and they're wishy-washy and like, well, I think you're not being intentional. What do you want to do? Let's get to the basics of like, what do you need the photos for? Where are they going? What are you going to use them for? Like, what is the look we're going for? If you can't even break all that down, get somebody else to do it.
How do you manage your relationship with your parents when they have these expectations of you to like, so I imagine it's a lot because you're also an only child. It's like, there's probably a lot of attention on you. And,
my mom has kind of given up on the grandchildren conversation at this point. She just makes jokes about it all the time. Oh, well, I'm never getting grandchildren. My father passed a couple years ago, and we had conversations before he died. And we came to a good understanding of, like, funny enough, I realized how similar we were in the last couple years. And I was like, dang, I'm a lot more like my father than I realized too. But like, you know, he's like, he's Greek. He's like, I want the grandbabies. You don't give me grandbabies. I'm like,
So funny.
I was just like, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to just have, and
With anyone?
without going into like the deeper family dynamics of like, I was like, do you really want, what you and mommy are asking for? First of all, who I'm having these babies with? Who's helping me take care of these babies as an only child who's already struggling to find community? Like, so like me and my father had conversations and he finally like validated a lot of stuff that I was saying. We had a lot of heart-to-heart talks before he died, and like it made me feel like, all right, somebody finally understands. But yeah, my mom, she likes being grandma to some of my friends' kids. So like whenever like she's like, oh, well, when's Jasmine coming back over? When are they bringing so and so? Or like if friends come through Savannah and I happen to be there, I've had them stop over sometimes. She gets really excited like to do little grandma things, and she has a trick she likes to do. She's done ever since I was little, where she like puts some sugar, like it's either a coin or sugar, where she does a whole thing, and the next thing you know, it's there. So she like still loves to do that with people's kids, just little grandma stuff. She wants to do grandma stuff, and I get it. But I'm like, you have a dog too, like. You have Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is your child now.
Could you see yourself living in New York forever?
I don't know about forever. I don't know if I can see anything forever. I don't know if I'm just built. That even maybe that's my own issue with relationships too. Like I can't necessarily see forever. I can see what makes sense right now. So like I can't guarantee you that I'm gonna be suitable for you for the next. How old am I now for? Jesus Christ. I was about to say 60 years. I don't even know how that. The next 40 years? I can't guarantee what the fuck I'm going to be doing today. You know what I mean? So it's like, unless you could roll and surf with me, I can't guarantee that. Like, I don't know. I might not go to Boston or I might go somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of a...
Nomadic?
Yeah, and go with the wind and like what feels good, and like the people that know me and love me, they know that.
Okay. All right, well, we're reaching the end, but I want to know, what kind of content do you consume? And how much of it do you consume? And like, what's your relationship with your tech?
I do follow a number of self-help pages and things like that. Like I'm very into self-help. Still very tapped into the music industry. I follow a lot of, I fell off like when my other friend died, Medic, like it really threw me for a loop because I was training for 4 days a week. I was probably in the best shape I'd ever been in, and then that just sent me down a spiral. But I follow a lot of fitness people. I have not gotten back into my full whatever, but I follow a lot of fitness, a lot of self-help.
Do you find that the self-help stuff you follow helps? Like, does it maybe?
Yeah, and again, you filter through things. There's like probably 2 or 3 main pages that I like, and then everybody else is like kind of a give or take. Singing, I follow a lot of different people because it's fascinating, not just for the like aspect of like singing itself, but really it's a full body thing. So it ties into everything else. It ties into fitness, and it ties into, they just all overlap, and self-care and wellness. And so I also just find like the dynamics of breaking down vocal and voice like fascinating. There's a gentleman, J.M. Legre, I think. Anyway, he does vocal breakdowns. Like he'll take people's videos and then he'll break it down like very specifically about what they're doing and how that matters and like stuff like that. Like I find that interesting. Comedians, mostly Instagram. I'm definitely an old head when it comes to like, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I have my handles everywhere.
Can people follow you?
Yeah, I'm Dirty South Yankee everywhere. I have been forever. I probably will be forever. Even if I do change my name, I'm still gonna have the handles. But Dirty South with an F.
Okay.
SOUF. Dirty South Yankee. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, even though I don't really use TikTok. Literally anywhere you can find a thing, I probably have the handle for it, even if I don't use it.
You're a South Yankee. Also, what's like best show you've ever seen?
Ever? That's hard. That's hard. The best show ever? Ever?
Top 3? Top 2?
Man, like I mean, literally when I told
What
you.
was the first thing that came to your mind when I asked that?
Well, I was like, because Pink is my favorite. So I was like, how many Pink shows have I seen? And like, where have I seen her? Because I mean, like I've been to big stadium stuff, but then like I've also been to real intimate stuff. Matter of fact, I know. There was I don't know if I want to call it, but it was probably one of the most impactful ones ever. There was 30 Seconds to Mars played their 500th show or something. They got into the Guinness Book of World Records. They played it at Hammerstein Ballroom. I went there with my friend. We're in the little stupid picture where they did whatever. We were at that show. They did a show at a church in Chelsea the following day. I don't even remember how. I think like somebody at a label was able to get me the tickets for that because like they mostly do big stadiums. They rarely do intimate stuff. And so I was still a new fan at that time. I didn't know all the stuff yet, but I knew like a certain number of songs. And so I went and it was stripped down, like, cause they were in the church and they had this full, like the violinists and the whatever, and like then the acoustics. And I'll never forget, cause I was going through some wild shit with somebody who was threatening me on Twitter at the time, whatever, and threatening to come see me and have people shoot me, whatever. He was crazy. But I was like, okay. It was some weird music industry stuff, and I decided I was gonna fall back for quite a while. And I went to that show because I almost made a different decision. And like, it had nothing to do with the show, but like, and I don't wanna say something wild and crazy, but I was gonna make a different decision. My decision at that time wasn't necessarily to fall back.
What was the wild decision?
I was gonna make some calls. That's where it got to. I was ready to make some calls, and it was gonna go a different way, potentially. And once again, good versus evil, right? I had people that was like, dirty say the word, what's up? What you want us to do? And I'm like, I was ready to make some calls, and I went to this show, and I just remember sitting there in the pew, and as somebody who does not consider themselves religious, back then I probably wouldn't even be like, God, don't say God because of Sky Daddy and whatever. But at this point, we're all talking about the same thing for the most part. Like whether it's God, the universe, Allah, like to me, we're all on the same page of different books. But yeah, at that time, I was like, we're in a church and this is awkward. Like I felt a little awkward, but like the experience was great. And I just remember sitting in the pew, listening to Jared Leto sing these words to this song that I didn't know. And I felt like he was singing to me like God was singing to me directly through him. Because I was just like, I just started bawling. Like everyone's like, are you okay? Like, and I just remember looking up and I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, are you fucking serious? This is where you want to do it? And it just changed the whole course of like everything that I thought I was about to do in that moment. Like I just sat there and cried through that whole song. And I was like, there was something else that was concurrently happening in my life that the following song addressed. So you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like I just cried because I was like, okay, I hear you. And I just fell back for like 6 months. I started managing my artist friend that was on America's Got Talent. I stopped promoting myself because I didn't want to, it was hot. I didn't want to be out here like that. So I was like, I would just let everything cool off. And I felt like that was God talking to me directly through him in that moment. There's only one other time where I had something so specific happen, and it was through music, but it wasn't a show. But like there was a moment where I was like, this has to be God. Like there's no way else Like there's nothing here. I am in the most silent room I'm in and I hear something.
What was that story?
Um,
In a silent room, you heard something.
Listen, I used to live with my grandmother before she died. So I stayed upstairs. We were in Savannah. It was quiet. Maybe crickets. That's the only thing you hear at night. I felt there was family drama with this other we were going to court. It was crazy. So my body was not well and I could not sleep. There was 2 days I couldn't sleep. I physically could not get to sleep. And I'm just like, my head was pounding. I thought my head was gonna explode. And I'm just like, I just remember laying in the bed, asking God, like, please let me sleep. Like, I don't know what to do to sleep. Please tell me what to do to sleep. I don't know. It was the worst pain. And it was 2, 3 in the morning. And I just remember hearing a sound. Didn't come from anywhere. It wasn't a car. It was, at that time, now I know it was a frequency, but at that time I didn't know I was like, and it stopped. I don't even remember what the fuck I Googled. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I was like, it made me sit up because I was like, where the fuck did that come from? I get goosebumps talking about it. I'm like, what was that? Like, it was a sound. And I was like, I still can't remember, but I must have Googled frequencies or something of that nature. And I discovered, I can't remember if I look on Facebook, because I wrote a status about it, I was like, yo, what the fuck? And I ended up finding out it was either 417 or 432. I think it was 417. But it was one of those, 417 or 432 hertz. I go find the sound on YouTube, same sound I had just heard, and it's like a binaural beat that just loops that sound. I went to sleep.
Whoa.
I was like.
Do you still use that sound?
Yes. To this day. Once again, that's why I'm like, with breathing and with sound and singing, when you learn how singing affects your body and like how healing it is, literally for the molecules, like certain frequencies and sounds and how they change the molecules in your body. That's why every time I forget, and I'm like, oh, I haven't sung in a while and I'm feeling miserable. I'm like, bitch, you need to go out and sing, because like that's when you feel great and you look great and you radiate, because like it's healing.
Yeah.
I'd never had like,
the vibrations.
I'd never forget that. I just sat up and I was like, what the fuck? And I found it and I just looped it and I went to sleep. Crazy.
Pretty cool. There's like science that backs this now too.
That was how I learned about binaural beats.
You just like felt it. That's pretty incredible. Well, thank you so much for taking all this time to tell us all your stories.
Yeah, thank you for having me.